Hey, what's going on, everyone? Tonight we're going to be doing episode 4 of Healthy Kids Simple Solutions. And what we're talking about tonight is outbursts and behavioral issues. And this has become very common with kids today, especially in the social setting, but also just at home. And we're going to really cover two of the biggest things that I see in the office that contribute to these outbursts and behavioral issues. And you can see if maybe these might be contributing to your kids. So, the first thing I'll be covering is the Muro Reflex. And what this is it's a startle reflex that we have as a baby. So we're born with it, and then about at 6 months of age or so, this reflex should go away. But if it doesn't, then it's going to cause issues later on in life. So if you picture a baby and you were to be holding it, and then you tip it down, what it's going to do is it's going to throw its arms up and it's going to take a deep breath in and kind of shake a little bit and then start crying. And that's because it's a startle reflex. So what happens is when you have a kid retain this and they don't get rid of it at that 6 month mark and then they become school age and they still have it, it's going to cause a lot of issues in school and eventually cause outbursts because they're constantly getting startled. So all kinds of stimuli are going to be setting this off. It could be a bright light, it could be a flickering light, it could be fluorescent lights, a loud noise, a kid tapping a pencil, it could be touch like the clothes, it could be someone coming and touching their shoulder, it could be just a change in body position, it can even be temperature. So all these different things are going to be startling the kid either on a conscious or subconscious level. So it'd be like if you had someone following you around all day and just trying to startle you throughout the entire day. Eventually, you're going to take problem with that and you're probably going to have an outburst yourself. So that's what I try to compare it to parents so that they understand what's going on. So what it's going to do is it's going to release a bunch of stress hormones and adrenaline and cortisol, and this is just going to drain you mentally and physically, both for the parent or the teacher as well as the kid. So too much stimulus is going to be bombarding their system, and then they're not going to be able to handle it. So they're going to be going on this cycle of high and then low and then high and then low. And what that does is, if you think of the fight or flight state, your pupils are going to dilate, your heart rate's going to go up, you're going to get in this elevated state, and that's also going to affect your concentration. You can't be able to grow and concentrate while you're in this fight or flight kind of protection mode. So what do we need to do about that? We need to stimulate a part of the nerve system called the parasympathetic nerve system. And the easiest way to do that is to give your vagus nerve some stimulation. This is a massive brake pedal that kind of calms everything down in the body, and it brings you out of that fight or flight state, and it more enters into like a growth and development state where they're better able to relax and then succeed in school. So that is the first thing that I always check for with kids that have issues with outbursts or behavioral issues. And the second thing I always check for is gut issues. So almost every single kid that has an outburst problem, they have a leaky gut and they have an inflamed gut, and they're usually sensitive to some type of food, and most often, by far and away, the most common thing that they're sensitive to is gluten. So the first step is remove those offenders. So what you want to do is remove that gluten, or if it's dairy, or if it's dyes, or whatever it is that continually is triggering this. And the tricky thing about gluten is it's not like a peanut allergy where you eat a peanut and then your throat immediately swells up. It's more like you can eat gluten or a piece of cake or whatever it might be, and then 5 days later it causes an issue. So it's a much more delayed reaction. So it's much harder for parents to track and say they don't have an issue with gluten. They just had it, they're fine right now. It's a much different sensitivity or allergy than, say, like a peanut allergy. So like I said, the first step is removing the offender, and then you want to repair that gut. So the microbiome is most likely pretty depleted. This is the bacteria field in your gut. It's the good bacteria, and usually it's pretty wiped out in these kids, and there's a lot of environmental reasons why that might be. But once that gets depleted, that microbiome, it makes the gut more leaky and more permeable. So if it were really tight before and now it's leaky and it's not able to digest that gluten. So before, where it can digest gluten down into an amino acid and everything's fine, now that the gut's leaky, it just leaks right into the bloodstream and it doesn't get digested. And then your body thinks of it as like a foreign invader, and then it wants to attack it, and it just creates this autoimmune kind of this inflammation process. And then when that happens, then your brain gets inflamed, and then you have these behavioral issues or these outbursts. So it's kind of a long-winded issue of why that is, but those are the two biggest things that I see with kids that have behavioral issues is they have a Muro Reflex usually, and they have gut issues. So those are the two things that I always try to address, but you definitely don't have to do it alone. We're going to be having a workshop on February 26th at 7 p.m. out here in Elkhorn, and we're going to be going over all types of different things. We're going to be going over, ADHD and neurodevelopmental issues and learning disorders, as well as behavioral problems and struggling socially. So we're going to be covering all this at that workshop, so I'm really excited about it. It's going to be completely free, so I highly recommend that you sign up for it and then you tell another parent that could use this information that they should come with you and go as well. And if there's like a Facebook group of parents, you can share this with them by all means. But what I want to do is be able to equip you guys with as much knowledge as I can so that you're able to start implementing that information that night, so then you can start helping your kid with these behavioral issues or with this concentration or whatever it might be. So I hope to see you guys there. I hope you click the link below. I should have that link to the workshop in the description, and I will see you guys on Tuesday, February 26th. I'll jump back on live tomorrow evening, so I hope to see you guys then.